Hi, shalom friends. One of the most beautiful and scenic places in North America is on the border between Canada and America, and I'm referring to Niagara Falls. The beauty, and it's awesome. I mean, just the power of the water and the beauty of the ravine between essentially two cliffs is just awe-inspiring. And indeed, it's a great hot tourist attraction. But if we go back before the Civil War, over 160 years ago, these two great countries that shared this common place of beauty were both stymied. They actually wanted to build a bridge between the two so people could appreciate the falls as a place to come and admire, as well as to begin commerce between the two places. Now, this is bridge building in its early stages, and the common way at that time was to run a steel cable from one side to the other. How did you manage to get the steel cable to go over? And one of the most obvious answer would be they would take a boat. The boat would actually run the cable from one side. It would be anchored on one side, and then the boat would run the cable to the other side where it would be anchored. And this would be repeated many times until they had a basis where they could put some type of an apparatus like a steam winch, which would continue the process. The problem over here was that the waters were so turbulent that it was impossible for a boat to actually go between the two cliffs in the right way and to be able to to hold its place in the water in order for them to actually properly align the steel cable. So the great engineers were thinking, many of them said, let's give up. But one very brash American engineer decided to open up to the public, and he heard a very interesting idea. Why not connect the two with some rope? Now, you ask the question, if we're talking about hundreds of feet in between the two places, how do you get the rope over? Well, this child actually, or young man, came up with the idea of flying a kite. Why don't we fly a kite from one side to the other side? And it was like so simple, it was ridiculous. Or some people said it was just simply too simple and very ridiculous. But he was very intrigued by this idea, and they opened up a flying kite contest. I think you were able to win $5. In those days, 160 some odd years ago, that was a lot of money. A real incentive, and many tens of people came to try to fly a kite over the border, essentially. Of course, what's behind it? The kite has a long rope. If you could get the kite from one side to another, they would secure the rope from one side to a tree, the other side, and then they would now be able to tie another rope or cord to the one existing, and little by little they would be able to actually transport or the wider and wider cords until eventually you'll be able to do a steel cord. Anyway, many tried, and there was one fellow who actually took a ferry to the side of Canada, and his kite, he actually gave it a name, I think it was called the Union, made it over. And friends, from the day that the cord was transferred by a kite from Canada to America, some 6 months later, they already had a rudimentary suspension bridge. It's a fantastic story. You could Google it, Niagara Falls. It has, and those of you that are more interested in the engineering part of it will be fascinated by the different things that they did. But this got me thinking. And it got me thinking as follows. To connect two impossible places that are separated by turbulent waters, they did it with a string. Could you imagine? Someone today were to look at this bridge that's holding hundreds of tons of pressure and to believe that actually this whole idea started from a string, or I shouldn't say a string as much as a cord. I think it was 1/4 of an inch, the first one that actually went over. So here I am thinking to myself, God sends down a soul to a body. The world is compared to raging waters, and the soul wants to get the body to the other side, or to put it more correctly, to connect the body to God. How can it do it? So God says, mitzvahs. Do a mitzvah, and you will connect the body. Not the soul is in any case connected to God, but you'll connect the body to me. You say, but you are so far away, and you are so holy and infinite. One mitzvah? He says, yeah, just do one mitzvah. You know what will happen with that one mitzvah? One mitzvah will lead to a second mitzvah, and to a third mitzvah, until we will have, as the mystics teach us, a soul that can be likened to a very thick cord of 613 strands, each and every one of them much stronger than steel. And this connects us and holds us fast. And this sort of opens up another wonderful idea. Sometimes we doubt, what's the value of one mitzvah? I mean, I'm sure you've encountered this yourself, where there's a Chabadnik, or perhaps already others, says to a stranger, Shalom Aleichem, welcome to the synagogue. Would you like to put on tefillin? Or perhaps they stop him on the street. Excuse me, did you get a chance to put on tefillin? And the fellow is very decent, and he says, I'm Jewish, but I didn't do it yesterday. I'm not going to do it again. I don't want to be a hypocrite. He said, look, every day is special. Just do it now, one mitzvah. He says, okay, it's going to make you happy. You tell me it makes God happy. Believe it or not, that one mitzvah now connected the world, or the physical, to the world of the spiritual. And that's all you need. All you need is that one string, that one mitzvah. And then suddenly the guy says to himself, well, you know something, I already did it. Next week is my grandfather's yahrzeit. I don't know, maybe I should go and say the Kaddish. So he goes and he says the Kaddish, puts tefillah on the second time. And then someone in the shul invites him to come for Shabbat dinner. It's been a while. Of course, this is a happy ending. The point of it is one string led to a thicker string, which led to a cord, which led to a cable. And you should know that they become stronger over time, from a string to a cord to a steel cable. So friends, don't minimize that one mitzvah that you're debating whether or not you should do. Do it. Because I guarantee you, though there's value in one mitzvah and one mitzvah only, you will not suffice with that. That one mitzvah would lead to many others. And those of us that are privileged to have friends, neighbors, and acquaintances, don't be shy. Ask him to do one mitzvah. It might be as simple as, here's a charity box, fill it up and give it to whichever nonprofit or good organization you want to. So they'll start with putting in quarters. But they won't stop with that. They'll write checks. They won't stop. They'll actually go see the organization that they're supporting. They might volunteer, and so on and so forth. Well, if we actually think about the gazillion mitzvahs that have been created over the millennium, and even in the moment as you listen, so many mitzvahs by so many holy and wonderful people that are being performed, we are sure that our connection to God is beyond, it can never be broken. And with each one of those mitzvahs, a ray of goodness and holiness is being created. And with that, we will be very proud to welcome Mashiach. Amen.